Welcome learners. In this video, we are going to discuss about achieving a trade-off between the customer service and the cost. So we already discussed about what are the transportation modes. The various companies are using it to transfer the goods from one end to the other end. Now in this video, we will check about how they are achieving the trade-off between the customer service and also the cost cuttings. Transportation infrastructure policies should be taken care of when you are going for the cost reduction techniques, because transportation carries a major part of the cost calculations, especially the product designing. Then infrastructures are the fixed installations that allow a vehicle to operate. It can consist of a way, a terminal, and facilities for parking and maintenance. For a rail, pipeline, road, and cable transport, the entire way the vehicle travels must be built in. The airway and the seaway do not need to be built up. However, they require fixed infrastructure at terminals. Terminals such as airports, ports, harbors, and stations, railway stations, are locations where passengers and goods can be transferred from one vehicle or one mode to the other. The terminals for automobiles are parking lots, while buses and coaches can operate from simple stops. For goods, terminals act as transshipment points, though some cargo is transported directly from the point of production to the point of use. The financing of infrastructure can either be public or private. Transport is a necessity for the public roads, and in some countries, railways and airports are found through they are funded through taxations. New infrastructure projects involve large spending for the roadways and railways and are often financed through debt. Many infrastructure owners therefore impose usage fees such as the landing fees at airports or toll plazas on roads. Independent of this, authorities impose taxes on the purchase or the use of vehicles also. So the transportation policy should be framed accordingly. Transport Corporation of India Limited is the largest private sector integrated logistic company in India. Any transport policy should be able to ensure safe, affordable, quick, comfortable, reliable, and sustainable access. Integrated land use and transport planning in all cities should be encouraged so that travel distances are minimized. The access of business to markets and the various factors of production should be improved. It should bring about a more equitable allocation of road space. The transport infrastructure should favor the estimation or the establishments of quality focused transport systems that are well integrated, providing seamless travel. Various mechanisms should be established for the enhanced coordination in the planning and management of transport systems. There should be an intelligent transport systems for traffic management, and the use of cleaner technologies should be promoted to achieve better cost control measures. And these transport policies should be framed by the government, taking into consideration about the transit of goods in a particular economy. And design options which is available for transportation networks. Number one is in most cases, trucking or the road freight provide the most flexible means of distribution of finished goods to retail locations. So that is only easy for everybody to load and unload their products, especially in the retail industry. The supply chain utilizes several modes for transportation at various stages of the supply chain. Traditionally, marine transport has been the backbone of international trade. It remains the major mode of transport when the supply chain extends overseas or abroad. In recent years, there has been a tremendous growth in air freight and products with a short shelf life and high value are increasingly moving by air, especially the meat, the vegetables, and the dairy products which is going to Gulf countries or to the other countries are going only through flights. One supply chain which is very much dependent on time definite air freight services is the high-tech industry. So the use of quick and reliable time definite service as opposed to a long sea voyage should be readily apparent when the focus of modern supply chain management is considered. Whereas each mode has its specific cost and service attributes. The use of any or a particular combination is important on the terms of contract between the supplier and the firm for transportation. So the question related to transportation in supply chain are: number one, what are the transportation options which is available? Number two, which one to select and how to select, on what basis we have to select it. The solution is like this: the direct shipping network is available. In this case, the manufacturer ships directly, go from the manufacturer's plants to the retailer without using a distribution center or a warehouse. So that is one model, and it reduces the cost associated with warehousing or intermediate distribution centers. The time related to order processing is also reduced when goods are shipped directly to the retail stores. So you can see here the suppliers directly sending it to the retail stores. So this is the way how the suppliers, supplier 1, 2, 3, 4 is here, and here the retail store 1, 2, 3, 4 is there. And every supplier will be directly sending it to retail outlet 1, 2, 3 and 4. Likewise, everybody will supply directly to them. And this direct shipping network, the time related to the order processing is very simple. And this is a valid approach. And this provides a supplier able to respond very quickly, and it is cost effective. Using less than truck load carrier, the cost and the transit time both increase. So this is the model, one model, it is a direct shipping network model. And the second part of it, shipments via central distribution networks. The supplier does not send the shipment to the buyer location. The buyer divides the location by geographic origin. A distribution center is built for each region. Supplier sends their shipment directly to buyer location, and the distribution center is a layer between supplier and buyer location and can play two different roles. One is to store inventory and another to serve as a transfer location. So the trucks carry the goods to the distribution center, which is sorted and consolidated with other products and transferred to loading dock to load on a truck. So you can see there will be a distribution center. All the shipments will be done to this distribution center, and from this center you can see that the shipping trucks will come and take it. This is to X with the AB Limited, and this is Y with the AB Limited. And here it is also receiving it from B, and this is goods for A and Y and Z, and this is goods for from A with the goods for X, Y and Z. So this is loading it, this is unloading it. So this is, these shipments are loading in a distribution center. In turn, this will be distributed for the ships. So this is shipments via central distribution network. This is another one more model. Next is shipping via DC, that is using milk runs. So milk run can be used from a distribution center if there are small lots to be delivered to each buyer. So that means it is a tailored network, and the tailored network is the integration of supply chain services with the core product in order to give each customer a value added product which has been tailor-made according to the requirements. Thus, it becomes a key differentiator of a product in an age of mass production, where there is a very limited scope for production or differentiation among the core products themselves. It is a combination of options that reduces the cost and improves responsiveness of supply chain. So you can see the networks here. This is a tailored network, we call it as. So the customer service is the red color layer, and the product is the center layer, blue color layer, and this yellow layer is the supply chain. So in this milk run, this is a tailored network, and this network is integrated of a supply chain and with the core product, because in order to give each customer a value added product which has been tailor made according to the requirements. So it is a key differentiator. So that also we should try to understand from this. Then the tailored transportation. The use of different transportation networks and modes based on customer and product characteristics is tailored transportation. So the use of tailored transportation to different transportation networks and modes based on the customer requirements as well as based on the product characteristics. The factors which is affecting the tailored transportation mode are: number one is the customer distance and the density of the product, and also the demand the product is having it, and also the value, how far the value of the product is. The last one is about the customer order size. So these are all the factors which is affecting the tailored transportation models. After considering into the customer distance, suppose he is in the outskirts of the city, or he may be in the center heart of the city areas, or the product demand may be very high, or the density of the product may be different than the normal distributed products. The value of the product may be very high. If something happens to the product during transit, we should be very careful, and certain products will be moved only in the night time, which cannot be disturbed by any of the roads. And certain products are heavy engines, machines like structures for windmills will be moved in a very lower speed, because that will affect the entire product quality, and if one particular product gets spoiled, lakhs and lakhs of rupees will be getting loss. So the customer product demand and the value should be taken into consideration, and based on that we have to tailor the transportation. Then about the customer order size. See, the order of the customer, if he is doing for one or two bulks or bundles, you cannot provide a separate system for that. You have to club it with other areas. When it is not so, then you have to go for a different tailor-made, tailored transportation networks. What is the trade-off in transportation design? A trade-off implies a decision to be made with full comprehension of both the sides up and down of a particular choice. So whatever decision is taken, it must be a trade-off that best meets the interest of the consumer whilst retaining profitability of the firm. So it will be a trade-off is nothing but it should earn profit at a minimum cost by satisfying the customer. So the design task is to trade off the factors of decision making to meet the demands of the marketplace. All transportation modes have their pros and cons, which make the decision of selecting the ideal transportation mode. Basically, the two major decisions a supply chain manager needs to make with respect to trade-off in transportation are: Number one is trading transportation cost over inventory cost, and subsequently overall cost. Trading transportation cost over inventory aggregation. So these things he must take into consideration. This is a very tougher decisions the supply chain manager should take to get a trade-off. And the inventory aggregation decreases the supply chain cost if the product has a high value to weight ratio, high demand uncertainty, and the customer's orders are large and vice versa. The effect of a transportation mode on a supply chain aids to the decision making process. That is, does one transportation mode make the supply chain more customer responsive than the other, even though it is quite expensive? Or is there is a cheaper mode that responds a lot more slower to customer demands than the another? So that should be taken care of. And the supply chain manager has to make the appropriate decision, and it is most likely based on the following factors. Number one is the cost. So whatever the decision he is taking it, everything is rely upon the cost and the ability to fulfill the transporting vehicle. What is the capacity or the ability of carrying this particular matter? You can see that people will be transporting even the animals in a small caged trucks, so that where the animals will be getting lot of trouble. So that type of transporting vehicles should not be allowed here. So protection of contents from theft, weather conditions, etc. And shipping time also should be taken care of. And you can see the viability of insurance on the contents, delivery and other items, and factors of importance. Difficulty of arranging shipment, like strict governmental regulations, will also reduce the complications. Sometimes create complications. Delivery accommodation, for instance, how many other modes need to be employed apart from the primary mode to get products to the final customer? That link must be analyzed. And seasonal considerations like weather, flight delays in rainy seasons, etc. And size of the product to be shipped, like cars, computer components, and also the perishability of the product has been shipped. So these matters should be taken care of to take appropriate decision. This is the role of sometimes the supply chain manager to look into all these factors and decide, so that he can reduce the cost and you can attain the trade-off. Then the routing and scheduling in transportation also reduces the cost and gives you trade-off. Routing and scheduling refers to the selection of customers visited by a particular vehicle and the sequence in which they will be visited. Routing and scheduling must be done to reduce transportation cost and at the same time make deliveries in the earliest time possible and meet the promised level of customer responsiveness. The efficient mobility of goods is the optimal routing and scheduling. See, the objective to minimize cost can be by decrease in number of vehicles. So sometimes they will be dumping it and you can see the products are damaged and they are sending it because of this. That should not happen. But anyway, you have to limit the vehicle, accommodate the vehicles. Those who are going in a particular route should be identified. For example, a regular lorry service which is coming from Madurai to Trichy or Trichy to Chennai must be identified for sending your cycle, bicycle or your bikes to your parking place. So that is giving you a cheaper cost. The people will have an idea about how many number of regular lorry services are going on there. So the regular lorry services may be coming from Chennai and getting it down the materials which is loaded there in the market, and in turn it will go as a return as a empty vehicle. So these empty vehicles can also be used by transporting some materials from Trichy to Chennai. So this is the decrease in number of vehicles, reducing the traveling distance and time, and reduces service failures. Always it is creating a very big tension for the transporters. Any unexpected repairs and maintenance or any accidents, so those things reduce the services on time, and this will create a delay. And two basic approaches in routing and scheduling are the saving matrix method and the saving matrix method. These are all the steps we have to find out. Through this method, we have to identify the distance matrix first, and identify the saving matrix, and assign customers to vehicles or routes. You can just assign the routes to them. This is what the route it is coming on the way, you can pick up at, and sequence customers within routes. So you can also sequence the customers within the routes. See, in Tanjore you are there, in Tiruvarur you are there, and you are in Kumbakonam. This is given to Trichy people, this is to Karur people, this is to Coimbatore people. Likewise, you can a lorry or a truck which is coming from Kerala to Kanyakumari. So you can route that according to the sequence of the customers where your customers are available. And from the figure it is clear that visit starts and ends in the same. So you can see that AB is the customer X and it will reach it to AB. And here a customer Y also reaches. Whereas AB, the customer X and the customer Y, we can club them together. So only one vehicle you can use it, and saving time. This is the saving matrix method. So all these two, customer Y and customer X, can be clubbed together and provide a vehicle. From AB, and customer X is delivered in one place and customer Y is delivered again, and then it will reach the destination. In a single trip you can do it. So that is what they are very much combined here. So the destination is AB. So the saving of XY is the distance saved in the trips. So the trips are combined to make a single trip. So this is what the identification. Then about the generalized assigned method. So the generalized assigned method steps are: assign seed points, otherwise called the nodal points, for each route. Evaluate insertion cost or customer design. So in the generalized assignment method, the following steps are followed here. Assign routes to the customers, sequence customers within the routes, sequence them, order them, and assign the speed points or the seed points for each route, where they have to stop it, where they have to give the material, where they should not stop it. That also you have to give it to the truck drivers. And evaluate the insertion cost for each customer. Whenever you are stopping in a particular seed point and you are giving it, what is the insertion cost you are going to incur it, that you should plan it. Then about the transportation decision making process. So the following points should be considered while making any decisions related to transportation in supply chain. Number one, alignment of transportation strategy with the competitive strategy. So both the strategies should align with each other. And the consideration of both in-house and outsourced transportation, and designing a transportation network that can handle e-commerce also, because some stores may be delivering it online as well as offline order takings. So those particular store or the shops, they cannot design a separate transportation network for their online orders, and they have to club it along with their offline orders. Many of the traders are started doing it nowadays. Even after pandemic like this, they are handling both online orders and offline orders together. And the use of technology to improve transportation performance. So we have to fix them the GPRS or any type of tracking node where you can fix it in the vehicle and you can identify the speed, the delays, as well as the cost cutting measures what you are doing it, and designing flexibility into a transportation network. So then and there, if you need, you should also make it flexible according to the expectations of the customers. You should not be very rigid in that this particular place my vehicle will not come. You have to come and collect it from a nearby town or by a nearby a city. On the way, if it is possible for the truck to deliver the material, so they have to do it. And or some 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers deviated from the main road or from the national highways, the truck should go and deliver the material. So making the transport decisions will also gives the trade-off in a better cycle. When we are coming back to the conclusion part of it, we have to start from the transportation system and what we discussed in the earlier video. Transportation system is a key element in a supply chain. It joins the separated activity into one clubbed linked activity or a chain of activities. Transportation occupies 1/3 of the amount in the supply chain cost. That's what we are speaking more on this particular topic. And the trade-off is also possible only by curtailing the transportation cost and improving the profitability. The fixed facilities that are physical components of the system that are fixed in space and constitute the network of links and nodes of the transportation system. The success of any supply chain is closely linked to the appropriate use of transportation. There are two key players in any transportation that takes place within a supply chain, namely a shipper and a carrier. So that is what the sender and the receiver. It may be a manufacturer to the customer, or it may be a retailer to the customer, or it may be a dealer, a wholesaler to a retailer. Any mode it may be. The adequacy transport infrastructure is a key factor in the ability of countries to compete in the international trade. So proper infrastructure should be taken care by the government authorities to improve the international trade scenario also. And they have to formulate such a policy that trade tariffs or some other concessions which will be given for the local traders to do the export and import shipping or the cargo. Competition for new exports and location of global industries is largely depends on the quality of transport infrastructure. And if your country is having a better transport infrastructure, then they are ready to give the order to you. If your country is not providing the proper transportation or the cooling facilities, trackers and other things, they will be doing it in the country, then immediately they are giving orders to you. So that is the reason why the 4 lanes or the 8 lanes are laid in India, because many foreigners, they are in need of a straight line of routes from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. So the increased globalization of world trade in many countries arises not only from the liberalization of trade policies, but also from advances in transportation. The metro rail transports, the mono trains, the bullet trains are all the examples of these advancements in transportation. The financing of infrastructure can either be a public or a public-private partnerships. The transport is a necessity arrangements for the public roads, and in some countries railways and airports are funded through taxation. So even in our country the railways are fully funded by the government through the taxation. The tailored network is the integration of supply chain services with a core product in order to give each customer a value-added product which has been tailor-made according to the requirement. So, routing and scheduling must be done to reduce the transportation cost and at the same time make deliveries in the earliest time possible and meet the promised level of customer responsiveness. So, on the whole, the efficient mobility of goods is the optimal routing and scheduling, which will help the traders to do the trade-offs. By reducing the transportation cost, they will improve the sales by delivering it in a proper time, proper place, and to the proper condition. And also, by reducing the transportation cost, they will earn more profit. This is one type of cost cutting measure, and the other part of it is they can also do the earning of more sales and by the way improve their revenues. So thanks for watching the video and learning along with me. Have a pleasant learning. Keep on learning and read the material PDF which is given to you for further classifications and clarifications which is given to you. Thank you. Once again, I'll meet you in the next video.